Hope is not optional. And I really need you to feel this with me for a second. Think about the last time that you felt stuck and full of despair, all because you had no hope for the future. Your brain physically cannot build a future that it doesn't believe exists. Without hope, you are not just a pessimistic individual. You are neurologically stuck. Your brain doesn't just predict the future, it actively creates it. And if you don't consciously create your future, your past will create it for you. Every hurt, every failure, every time someone made you feel small, your brain is using all of that to predict what's coming next. And unless you become aware of it, you keep repeating the past. If you have been hurt, your brain predicts more hurt, and it prepares you to protect yourself in ways that often create the very things you fear. Hope is not optional. And I really need you to feel this with me for a second. Think about the last time that you felt stuck and full of despair, all because you had no hope for the future. As I shared at the end of the last episode, and if you missed that one, make sure to go check that one out, I talk about how I burned my whole life down to the ground because of my behaviors. And so my life was full of chaos, and I was at absolute rock bottom. And I felt full of despair, and I felt hopeless, and I was struggling with a lot of suicidal thoughts. I didn't see how my life could get any better. I didn't see how I could be any different. But I was able to find a little spark of hope. And that spark grew into a fire in my heart. And it's what led to me being able to come up from rock bottom and change my entire life. And so today I'm going to talk about hope, and I'm not talking about hope in a toxic positivity way or pretending like everything's fine when it's not. I'm going to be talking about the literal neural circuitry in your brain that determines whether you can move forward or if you stay frozen in place. Your brain physically cannot build a future that it doesn't believe exists. Without hope, you are not just a pessimistic individual. You are neurologically stuck. If you don't have hope for the future, your body enters a fight, flight, or freeze mode, and your prefrontal cortex goes offline. And this will shut down all future planning. And when your brain stops planning for the future, it stops producing dopamine. And this is because you aren't going after your goals because you feel like there's no point. And this is all because you lack hope for your future. Hope is actually a survival mechanism. And so today I'm going to be talking about the neuroscience and the psychology of hope and why it is necessary to be able to create your future. Most people think that hope is just wishing or dreaming. You hope that things get better, or you hope that something works out. Psychologist Charles Snyder spent decades studying hope. And what he discovered is that hope is actually not a feeling, but that it's actually a cognitive process. Hope has 3 parts to it. First, you have to have a goal, a clear vision of what it is that you want. Second, you have to have the ability to imagine how to get to this future goal. And third, you need to have the belief that you can get there to this future goal. So hope is the ability to hold the vision of a better future, believe you have the power to move towards that future, even when you don't know how it's all going to play out. When you set a goal and imagine a future that you want, your brain creates what neuroscientists call a prediction error. And what this is that your prefrontal cortex imagines your future and then compares it to where you are now. And then that gap between where you are and where you want to be is what is called the prediction error. And so this gap is what actually activates our dopamine system. Dopamine isn't just a pleasure chemical. It is a motivation chemical. It is what drives us and motivates us to pursue our goals. It is released when our brains detect a meaningful goal that is worth pursuing. I talk a little more about the science of dopamine and why it's necessary to create our future in my episode titled Why I'm Failing in Public and It's Changing My Life. If you missed that, you can find it in the episode show notes in my playlist. It's never about the goal. It's about the journey. It's about the anticipation and the chemicals that are released as we try to close that gap between where we are and where we want to be. And think about it, when we get to where we want to be, there's always a new goal then that we strive for. But dopamine will only get released if your brain believes that it is possible. If your brain thinks the future is hopeless, your dopamine system shuts down and you lose motivation and energy. Depression feels so heavy and painful because your brain has stopped producing the neurochemical that is required for forward movement. And it's because it doesn't believe that there's anywhere worth going. There's no future to strive for. So you will feel down and depressed and hopeless, which will then prevent you from doing the action that will produce the dopamine, that will motivate you. So hope is what allows you to believe in your future. And when you believe in your future, you move towards it. You take the actions necessary to create the successful future. And when you take the actions, you release the dopamine, which will only motivate you and fuel you forward. But if you don't believe in your future, you will never take the steps to move towards it. And I'm going to be diving deeper into this throughout this episode. In the 1950s, Kurt Reicher did an experiment with rats. He put them in water and timed how long they could swim before they gave up. The rats typically lasted 15 minutes. But then he started rescuing the rats right before the 15-minute mark was up. He rescued them, he let them rest, he saved them, and then he put them back in. And guess what? They went from 15 minutes to swimming for 60 hours. That's a huge difference. And it was because the rescue created a sense of hope in the rats. So they held on a lot longer because they had once experienced rescue. And so they held on to that feeling of, if I keep going, I'm going to get rescued. The rats with no hope gave up within 15 minutes. The rats with hope swam for 60 hours. And it was because they believed that survival was possible. They would make it through. If only they kept going. If only they swam a little longer. And so your brain works the same way. As I've been talking about in, I'm pretty sure, every episode, but our reticular activating system is very crucial to reality creation. But it is what decides what information gets to pass through to our conscious mind. And this is because our mind is handling 11 million bits of information per second, but our conscious mind, what we're aware of, can only handle 40 bits of information per second. And so that means we're missing out on a whole lot of reality. And your reticular activating system prioritizes what to allow through to your conscious mind based on your beliefs, your interests, your goals. If you believe that your future is hopeless, your reticular activating system will filter reality to match that belief. You will notice every failure, and every closed door will be devastating. You will highlight every reason why something won't be able to work out, instead of noticing all of the potential possibilities. But when you have hope, when you believe that a better future is possible, your reticular activating system starts scanning for opportunities and resources and possibilities. This is why two people in the exact same circumstance can seek two completely different realities. And it's because their brains filtered reality to match what they believe about reality. We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. I think it was Wayne Dyer that said that. So we see the future our brain believes, and our reticular activating system filters reality to match the filter that we believe is possible. Your prefrontal cortex only stays online when you believe that there is a future worth planning for. Your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that is responsible for decision-making, problem-solving, planning, creativity. The neuroscientist Hal Hershfield studied something that he called future self continuity. And basically this means how connected you feel to your future self. When you feel really connected to your future self, your brain will treat your future self like it's an actual person, a real person worth investing in and protecting, which means you will make better decisions in the now. You will have discipline, and you will be able to delay gratification because you are investing in your future self's future. You will be able to take the steps necessary today to give your future self the best life possible. And when you lose hope, you are not connected to your future self. They become a stranger, so your brain stops caring about them. Why save money for someone you don't believe will exist? Why take care of your health today for someone who doesn't exist? Why learn new things or build skills for a future that isn't even possible? So hopelessness doesn't just make you feel sad, it disconnects you from your future, from all of the potential and possibilities that are waiting for you to discover them in your future. And when you don't feel connected to your future, your prefrontal cortex goes offline. And so you stop planning for your future, you stop dreaming and imagining. You're stuck living in survival mode, just trying to make it through the day. Your brain doesn't just predict the future, it actively creates it. There's a concept in neuroscience called predictive processing. Your brain is essentially a prediction machine. It constantly predicts what it thinks is going to happen, but it can only draw from past experiences to do so. And this was a survival mechanism. Our ancestors needed to be able to predict where the food was and what was going to happen in order to stay alive. But your brain doesn't wait to see what happens. It prepares you for what it expects is going to happen. So this means that if your brain detects danger, it's going to flood your body with cortisol and adrenaline. Even if there's no actual danger present, it's preparing you to run from the tiger. Your brain can also predict rewards. And if your brain predicts a reward, it will release dopamine to get you to move towards that reward. Your brain is constantly creating the future that it expects. This is why belief is so powerful. And it's not because the law of attraction. I like to take the woo-woo and break it down and explain it so that you're able to understand it better and actually integrate it and embody it. Your beliefs shape your brain's predictions of what's possible. And these predictions shape your attention and your behaviors. When you imagine your future self succeeding, you're not just daydreaming. You're literally building the neural pathways in your brain that will actually support that future that you're imagining. Every time you visualize yourself having a difficult conversation, your brain strengthens the neural circuits in your brain for emotional regulation and communication. Every time you imagine yourself at your goal weight or in your dream career, you're reinforcing the identity and the pathways that will make those goals and those dreams possible. Our brains don't know the difference between an imagined and a real reality. So what you are imagining, your brain thinks it's actually happening, and so it starts forming and building the neural pathways. And then with these neural pathways, you'll actually be able to have the behaviors and take the actions and the steps necessary to create the future that you imagined. Athletes have known this for forever. When you imagine yourself doing something, it activates the same motor circuits as if you are actually doing it. When you are stuck in despair and hopelessness, you are telling your brain to expect failure, which will only create the failure. Your brain is designed to create, but again, it can only create what it believes is possible, because otherwise it will never move towards it. And if you don't consciously create your future, your past will create it for you. Every hurt, every failure, every time someone made you feel small, your brain is using all of that to predict what's coming next. And unless you become aware of it, you keep repeating the past. If you have been hurt, your brain predicts more hurt, and it prepares you to protect yourself in ways that often create the very things you fear. For example, if you're worried that a partner is going to leave you, you're going to start having anxious behavior. And so your behaviors are actually going to create your partner leaving you. You'll be controlling, you'll be texting them constantly. And so when they break up with you, you're gonna think, oh, see, I knew they were gonna break up with me. And then it just keeps reinforcing the original belief that you're just not lovable. People don't stick around. All your partners leave you. And until you can interrupt that pattern and that behavior, you're just gonna keep repeating it. If you have failed before, your brain will only predict failure for your future. And so you will unconsciously sabotage or avoid opportunities in order to prove your brain right. Our brains like to be right. So our brains are always unconsciously recreating our past. The only way to break the loop is to consciously and deliberately create the new future. When you lose hope, again, you don't just feel bad. Your stress response becomes active. Cortisol floods your body and your immune system gets weakened. Your heart is affected by your lack of hope. You age faster when you have no hope. Hopelessness is not just physical, it's also social. When you lose hope, you withdraw and you stop reaching out for support or connection. You stop taking risks in relationships. And you tell yourself that you're better off alone. You protect yourself from disappointment by isolating yourself. Studies show that loneliness is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And so hope is necessary on a physical, emotional, and mental level. In the book A Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl wrote about his observations that who survived were not necessarily the strongest, but the ones who had the most hope. The ones who survived had the strongest reason to survive. They had a future free from this current pain that they were in, that they believed in. And so he determined that if you have a why to live, you can bear anyhow. Hope isn't about denying suffering. It's about having a future that makes the suffering worth enduring. Your brain needs a why. It needs a future worth building. Without it, it starts shutting down because it doesn't see the point in wasting energy on your survival. So how can we build or retain hope when we feel hopeless or when life is really hard and challenging? The first thing that we can do is to start small. Start with tiny goals. Remember that hope needs to be able to see the goal and imagine the outcome and believe in the outcome. So if you're feeling hopeless, trying to imagine some massive future feels impossible and overwhelming. Your brain doesn't believe that the goal is achievable because the gap between where you are and where you want to be is too big. And so your brain says, nope, not for us, not going to waste the time and the energy. And so the key is to start small. Don't try to transform your entire life in a week. Start with one small thing that you can do today. Your brain will get a hit of dopamine and will get the evidence that you can do the things required to create this future goal that you have imagined. The evidence will build up, which will only keep reinforcing the behaviors that will continue to strengthen your belief in yourself and your ability to create this future that you have imagined for yourself. Imagine your future in vivid detail. What does it look like? How does it feel? Then compare it to your current reality. Ask yourself, what obstacles are in the way? What's holding me back? Then imagine all of the possible outcomes. You can even imagine the setbacks and the challenges and how you might navigate those. Doing so ensures that you will be able to handle these challenges or setbacks efficiently and effectively if they ever do arise. We build the pathways in our brain that will create the future that we want. We can train our brain to see the future as both desirable and achievable, which is exactly what hope is. And again, hope is what helps us create the future that we desire. You can even write letters to your future self or as your future self to you. Write about what your life looks like 5 years from now. Describe it in detail. What does your house look like? What do your relationships look like? What are you doing for a job? How do you spend your days? How do you feel in your body? Write it all down in detail and allow yourself to feel the emotions that you would feel if this were true for you now. We're going to be talking about this in a future episode, but it's never actually the thing that we want. It's the feeling that we want. But when you imagine this future and can feel it and experience it in the now, this activates your prefrontal cortex to start planning and preparing for that future right now. It connects you to your future self and you start caring about this future version of yourself. Your brain will start filtering reality and creating the pathways that are necessary for the future that you imagine, and it's all because you believed in it. Having hope is not always easy. Some days it is nearly impossible to have a single ounce of hope, and that's okay. This is where having community and friends and support is so helpful and so necessary. When you are around people who believe in your future, their belief can pull that potential up out of you. Your brain will start mirroring their belief in you, and this is all thanks to mirror neurons. This is why having mentors or coaches or therapists or supportive friends are not just nice to have, but are necessary. You can borrow their vision for your future until you can see it for yourself. Hope is not naive. It's not ignorant. It's a survival skill. It's not a privilege only a few of us get to have. We all need it to survive. We all need it to become the best version of ourselves. Hope is what allows our brains to imagine this future. Hope is what allows our brains to build the pathways that create the future. Hope is what allows us to be able to move towards the future and release the dopamine that will keep propelling us and moving us forward towards our desired outcome. When you have hope, your brain rewires itself. Your dopamine system comes online. Your prefrontal cortex starts planning, and your reticular activating system starts scanning for possibilities and opportunities. You don't need to know how it will all work out. You just need to believe a better future is possible. You just need to believe that you have the power to create this better future. With hope, your brain will do everything in its power to create the future that you believe in. You become your future self, this future version of yourself that you imagine and wish that you could be. So what future are you building today? Will your future self thank you for the actions that you are taking today? So here's your challenge for the week. Write a letter from your future self to you now. Describe it in detail. Read it every day and allow yourself to feel what living this life would feel like. Eleanor Roosevelt said that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Will you believe in your dreams today? I believe in your dreams. I believe in you. I know we don't necessarily know each other, but I believe in your future. I know the power that you have. Even if you feel stuck and you're at the bottom right now, I was there and I pulled myself up out of it. And I'm still on that journey. But I know the power that you have because I've been there, I've done it. I was homeless. I was struggling with addictions. I was so broke and I was all alone. And now I'm surrounded by so much love and support. I've now lived in my home for going on 3 years. I am so proud of who I am becoming. And I know that you can do even better. So borrow my vision for your future. And I think that there's a part of you that believes in your future, because otherwise you wouldn't be here today watching this video. Your reticular activating system would not have selected this video because it wasn't relevant for you. And so I am so glad that your reticular activating system selected this video for you, and I hope that it helps you to believe in your future. Next week, I'm going to be talking all about fear and how we can overcome it. I would love to hear in the comments, what future are you dreaming of and planning for? I would love to help you and cheer you on. Thank you again for being here today. And I'm sending you so much love. And real quick, if you have not gotten it yet, I have the free mindset shift guide. You can find it in the episode show notes. And I also have an 80+ page guide that will walk you through everything that I've been talking about in a way that is very visual and very easy to understand. And so if you're someone that maybe struggles with hearing things and learning them, this is the perfect way for you to learn and be able to integrate and embody everything that I have been sharing for the last couple of months. So make sure to check that out as well. I hope you have the best week ever. See you in the next episode. Bye for now.